Hello, I'm Mike Fontanopoulos. I'm your academic coach for Springdale Public Schools, and today I want to chat with you about how to write a comparison essay if you're taking an advanced placement history course, either world history, U.S. history, or European history, but any of those advanced placement courses, or maybe you're in a pre-AP class and your teacher and you guys have been going over how to compare things. And so if I were going to write comparison essays or write a comparison paragraph or a comparison short answer, here are some of the components and just the nuts and bolts of what I would like to see in those, or what you would want to put in there so that you could get all the points that you could get. And so be thinking about that as we cruise through this. I'm going to try and keep it underneath about 20 minutes, or I'm going to try my best. And then we're going to use the 2007 AP World History question. It's a real good basic comparison question. It's hard to misunderstand, and it's one that I actually got a chance to read as I've been a reader for AP World History now for quite a few years. Telling on my age there, 2007. This is one of the first ones I remember. So let's go ahead and hop right in and see what we can learn. First things first is we need to know what the word compare means. And to compare just simply means that. It means that we're going to talk about both similarities and differences. So if you get into this world of trying to compare and think, well, it just means, doesn't that mean just talk about, how something is similar? Well, it didn't tell me to do something other than just, it didn't tell me to talk about similarities and differences. It just said, again, it's always, you want to do that seesaw moment. And again, our debate students always seem to get this a lot faster than our students that don't take debate. I've been teaching this course for a good number of years, and it just seems like my debate students always seem to have a grasp on how to compare a lot quicker than our other students, because what you've got to do is it's kind of a juggling act. And maybe that's why the AP World History people and the AP US and the AP World itself just enjoys the comparison notion, because it's a higher order thinking skill. You have to keep kind of two stories going at the same time. And how well are you at doing that? Also, comparing versus listing. This is where some kids try to get out of comparing. Comparing is when they try to get into the world of just listing. And this is what I mean by that. So let's pretend that we're going to compare, I don't know, let's compare apples to oranges. So if we compare apples and oranges, and we talk about them similarly, then we're in the same paragraph. And again, right off the bat, I might say both apples and oranges are considered to be fruit. However, apples are grown mainly in the northern, more temperate areas of America, whereas oranges are grown in the southern, more warm spots of America. So you see right off the bat, I'm comparing. Here's where a student might get into the world of listing, when they just start talking about apples, and they're just apples all over the joint. They know everything there was ever known about apples. Their dad was an apple farmer. Their grandfather was an apple farmer. And then they had this guy down the road, and in a new paragraph, they start talking about oranges and how, they know now, they know everything there is to know about oranges. This is not comparing, especially if this is a paragraph and this is a paragraph. So again, and I know what you might be saying as a student. You might be saying, what are you talking about? I told you everything I know about apples, and I told you all I know about oranges. But what you're doing is you're leaving it to me to discern or to come to my own conclusions on what you're comparing. And again, it's your job as the student to write and to show in your writing what the comparison is. And so you may do it, you may start thinking, especially if you're in a history course, economically, politically, socially. That's where I come up with my my ESPN, economic, social, political, and then N is anything else that you might be able to compare them in some form of either the arts or through some sort of culture, etc. That that sort of thing. It may be losing its luster over the years, but anyway, what I'm driving at is here again. You've got to be able to do it all in one fell swoop. So so that you're not just talking about airplanes over here and then helicopters down here, whatever the comparison is. And so with that said, there's words that I think we need to use that push us into comparison. And let's talk about that in the next slide here. So let's talk about words that push us into comparison automatically so we don't get in the habit of listing. And these are those words. We want these in our essays. And again, this is something that if I'm a teacher and if I'm a student and I look around and I'm going to be writing comparison essays and I don't see these on the wall, I'd have these on the wall. These are great comparison words that I would want on a wall. And if you're going to be writing, anything in AP, world history, US history, European, you're going to be writing comparison essays. Whether it's a change in continuity over time, that's comparing time periods. Whether it's writing where it says compare, or if you're in the habit of seeing this and you see to what extent this lead in is a comparison moment, and it almost always helps to start off like that. Although apples, da 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 da, comma, to a larger extent, oranges, da 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 da. You see what I'm saying there? Or if you're just doing an old-fashioned comparison essay, both apples and oranges, can be found in America. However, apples are in the northern region, whereas oranges will be found in the warmer climate of the South. Bam, there you go. Now you're going to always get away from and stay away from these moments of listing, and you will get right into the habit of comparing. So make sure that you got these words down, save them, ask your teacher if you can put them on the wall so you can have them there. It's kind of like verbs to live by, and it's just going to be those things that help you kind of keep being a better and better and better writer. Okay. Never write an essay without a prompt. And so here's our 2007 AP World History Final prompt. And again, I'll kind of give you a little bit of a nuts and bolts on how to read a prompt. Again, first things first, here's the time period, right? 1450 to 1800. So right off the bat, I'm starting to think about, this is a long time period. This is Christopher Columbus was 1492. So this is the age of exploration all the way to the Industrial Revolution. There you go. That's pretty good long period. And compare the process of empire building. And notice I just read right over that because that's parentheses. I'll come back to it. Within the period from 1450 to 1800, comma, compare the process of empire building in the Spanish Empire with one of the following. And I'm going to pick the Ottoman Empire. I'll just go ahead and tell you. You could pick Russian all day long. I don't care. But I'm going to pick Ottoman just because I know I'm going to spend a lot of time with the Ottoman Empire in the world history class. Not that I wouldn't with the Russian Empire, I am, but the Ottoman Empire is in the center of the world. We're going to interact with all of those trading routes that come out of China and come through the Middle East, et cetera, out of Africa, et cetera. So anyway, and we have to talk about Spain. So there you go. So let's see. I'm going to probably say the word empire building process a bunch in this essay if I were going to. And then, well, they give you the EG, which is to say examples. They're just giving you the kind of a hint. Talk about political, talk about economic if you want. If there's something social, this doesn't mean you must use these. These are suggestions. So again, keep that in mind. And that's where kids, they get a little bit, I got to do all three of these. I can't think of a social one or whatever. Again, this is just a suggestion and leave it at that. I don't want to get tied up in that, but this is where I want your words, your mind to be. Okay. So again, we never write an essay without knowing the prompt. So there you go. This is our prompt. And that year at the reading, there were kids that would do the Ottoman Empire versus the Russian Empire and how they built empires, and they would leave out the Spanish because they kind of quit reading, or they just might say everything they ever knew about Spain. And then they might start talking about all things Ottoman. And they forget the whole process of how they built an empire, and they don't compare them. And they just listed them. This was a paragraph and that was a paragraph. And again, they thought, well, I wrote forever. That was a great essay. And they come back with about 2 points because their thesis didn't work, and they might have had some evidence points. That was about it. So again, that's tough. But I mean, we gotta do what the question's asking us to do. If we start to really look at the question, you'll see that it's a good question and that it means it's going to lend itself to some pretty good answers. So let's get in here. And we start to do this by prepping. We never just click our pen and start writing. We're going to prep. And so first things first is right off the bat, I'm thinking Spain on this side. And then over here, I'm going to put the Ottoman, as we said, that would be the ones that we're going to deal with. And then now I do this right here. And then here in the middle, I'm going to put both. And you'll see why I do that in a minute. This is my similarity moment. And then I know immediately I'm going to be thinking about stuff that's political. And I know immediately I'm going to be, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go political and economic right off the bat. And then I'm going to try and draw a straight line if I can. Look at that. Woo, that took a while. Okay. So both of these people, how did Spain and the Ottoman world, how did they both build an empire? How did they both build an empire politically? Well, I think they were fairly violent, both of them. And if I'm not mistaken, they both used kind of like a us versus them mentality. And that us versus them mentality was their religion. So they used a religion to build their empire. The Ottomans used Islam, and the Spanish used this thing. You could go Christianity, or you can even call it Catholicism if you wanted, right? And then you can go into who did they take over? The Spanish. I think the Spanish took over the Aztecs. And I believe and the Incas. And of course, if I'm not mistaken, they kicked out all of the Jews. If I'm not mistaken, all the Muslims in Spain, they got kicked out, right? So they're or killed. And then of course the Muslims, they were the ones. Let's see here. Let's see what they did. Oh yeah, they took over the Byzantine Empire, and the Byzantine Empire, BYZ. The Byzantine Empire was nothing but that was the old Christian empire. If you were the Orthodox Christian world, they took that over. They took over the Arabia, Saudi Arabia, if you will, and they took over all of the Muslim-speaking lands there. And again, so there you go. That's how they galvanized that's political. So economically, what happened? These guys struggled? No, they lasted obviously for a long time. So they were successful somehow. So these guys were global leaders, and these guys were global leaders in finances. And so how did they do that? Well, these guys did it at sea. These guys did it at land. So now you can start these guys built an oceanic empire where they had places all over, and again, protected, if I'm not mistaken, by the Spanish Armada. Let's see here if I can get into that. And these guys were protected by the Janissary Corps, right? Something like that. And so, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff here. You can get into the harem here, which was male dominated, that always looking for an heir for someone to, they're always looking for someone to take over the crown. And here, Spain, you can get into that makeup as well if you wanted. What was going on in Spain? There was Aragon and I'm lost now, but you get the king and queen. There's a social moment there anyway. I'm getting all over the place, but you just kind of need to keep it basic here. And this is a nuts and bolts of how to prep for a comparison essay. I always do my apples over here, oranges over there, and then both down the middle. And then now you're starting to see how I could write this essay. Both Spain and Ottoman world built their political empire through religion. However, they used Islam, whereas Spain used Christianity. And then here comes all these other things that's called evidence. Are you with me? So both, however, whereas. And then you can get into, again, both were global leaders financially. However, the Ottoman did theirs through land, whereas Spain, see. And so you can start to see this is a paragraph. This is a paragraph. You see what I'm saying? Easy stuff. Once you get this kind of stuff down, and that's why I say, if you've got 45 minutes to write, please prep for 15 minutes. I promise you, if you prep for 15 minutes and do this kind of stuff, a 30-minute write is a lot easier when you know what you're talking about than for me to sit there and go, okay, for 45 minutes, don't pre-write and just sit there and just keep writing into, please, this is a lot easier. Do it prep more, and you'll write clearer, and you won't be all over the place either. Okay, try to get as many nouns, pronouns. We've already looked at that. You want to get as many nouns, pronouns, proper names on your piece of paper as you can, and you certainly, you can do that. Like if you're going to Spanish here, just again, you can do that. And we just kind of did that. And again, and then you can start to get into the whole, both right down the line there. Okay. And so once you do that, now you're able to start to understand how to maybe get your thesis in there. But first things first, let's get into the comparison, or into this idea of the big, this is what makes your essay sizzle here, is again, analysis. Why is there the things that are going on? The big why behind the similarities, the big why behind the differences. And again, the why behind these similarities, why did these guys use a religion to galvanize their people? Probably because of the Crusades that had taken place, from 1096 up to 1250. There was that business going on, and there was a us versus them mentality already. And then, of course, what is the why behind the difference? And again, one of their differences is, again, Spain goes out to the ocean, and the Ottomans go off into the lands, and maybe that's because there was somebody in the middle, and that was the Italians, right? The Italian merchants were the ones that had already taken over the Mediterranean Sea. That's who was there. How do you know that? Well, remember the Battle of Lepanto? Or maybe you don't, but 1571, it's in almost every world history textbook. This is the one that basically, the Battle of Lepanto in 1571 is the one, that's a major battle. It's almost like the Battle of Midway. It's like a tipping point. And what that tipping point is it basically told the Ottoman Empire, you are not going to do well in this thing called oceanic or at sea battles. Get yourself to land. And they did. And they lasted they lasted until World War I. And the Italians, merchants are in the Mediterranean Sea. This tells Spain everything they need to know, right? We're not going to go in there. As a matter of fact, the guy that sailed for Spain was Columbus, who, of course, was Italian. Well, why didn't he do that? Why didn't he go west? Because the Italians were already in the Mediterranean Sea. They're already involved in all those sea trade routes. And so Columbus, being the explorer, hey, I got to go with somebody. So he talks himself into the court of Queen Isabella, and off he goes. So again, why is this different? Because in the middle, there was already somebody there. And again, that's a good why. And again, you can start to see why the analysis can get a little tough. You got to be a really good historian on the big picture, especially in world history. And it gets a little bit more, it can get really good in U.S. history too, in European history. There's always a good answer. There's not some conspiracy answer. There's not some splintered answer, go chase a rabbit answer. It's a good one. These are good answers. Okay, so there you go. Keep that in mind. That's good analysis if you're answering the why behind the similarity and the why behind the difference. Okay, and then and so with that, let's clean this board off here, and let's get into a pretty good little. Let's get into a good thesis statement. And again, I'm just going to use. And again, a lot of kids. Where do how do you do this? Again, the biggest one: words from the prompt. Do not go out and doctor up new words that words that were here. Use those words right down here. This is what I mean by that. Let me get rid of that. Words from the prompt is what I mean. So there you go. So from 1400 to 1850, both, there's the B word, both the Spanish and the Ottoman empires built their empires. All that's just words from the prompt. And here's the answer: by consolidating their authority through a common religion, right? And you could, however you want to say that, built their empires through a common religion. You could have said that, and you're still, you would have. There you go. However, economically, the Spanish were successful in further building their empire through oceanic venture, or you could say at sea, whereas the Ottomans built a land empire. So there you go. You can condense this down, or you can expand on that. Either way, you can literally, now, once you've got a good thesis statement, and this is true, Once you do this good thesis statement, guess what you can do? You can take that whole sentence right there, and that can become your next sentence for the next paragraph. Bam. That's your topic sentence for the next paragraph, for paragraph 2. There you go. This is all paragraph 1. So here comes paragraph 2, and then here comes, wait for it, there you go. Here comes the next one, and that's going to become paragraph 3. And you can lift the whole thing. Just rewrite the whole thing and now explain it. Get in there and share with all your evidence that you have, and get in there and give all the whys behind it, all that good analysis. And I'm telling you right now, if you do that, you're writing yourself a really good thesis. And of course, your teacher is going to talk to you about contextualization. That might be the paragraph that comes right here. So this might be really paragraph 3. This would be paragraph 4, because paragraph 2 would be context. I won't get ahead of myself. So anyway, there you go. But so paragraph 1 is your good thesis statement. Paragraph 2, context. Paragraph 3 is, topic sentence 1 lifted and then explained. Topic sentence lifted and explained. Paragraph 4. You get it. And it all starts with just kind of understanding the question and putting together that both, however, whereas kind of thing. And again, if I see one of those questions that lead in or starts with to what extent, I'm probably going to start that with an although. Right? So there you go. Hope this helps. If you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher and seek their guidance. And of course, you can always email me too. I'm Mike Fontanopolis, your academic coach, and I'm wishing you the best of luck on all things you do in your AP classes. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.